Hi, this is Dawn. Welcome to the latest episode of From Dial Square to Where, the Arsenal Twitter podcast, which incidentally contains adult content which is definitely not suitable for young children. Please like and subscribe and leave a 5-star review, it really helps. Also, please be sure to visit the YouTube channel and subscribe to that. We have a brand new show, You Can Be the Star, the most interactive Arsenal show, where the twist is the viewer who entertains us the most on the night can join us live on the panel to air their opinions. We have great guests weekly. We've had Kevin Campbell, who was absolutely brilliant. That's still available to watch, and we also have more excellent guests lined up, which is very, very exciting. Thanks for listening.
All right, Treacle.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new edition of From Dial Square to Where, the Arsenal Twitter podcast. So, we've heard an awful lot from the club, supposedly, this week. Been another big news week, really. Not anything we really want to hear. I think we all hoped that Emery was going to be out by now, but depending on what you want to believe, we could either have him till the end of the season. He could be having another 6 to 8 games. We all know as well, I think deep down, he's got to go. He should have gone by now. And the problem we've got is that on average, we would need 71 points to get to top 4, just to finish 4th. And we've got 24 games left. And in order to get top 4, we need to win 18 out of the 24 games. Now just let that sink in for a while. I think we've only won 2 out of the last 10. At the moment, I can't see where we're going to get our next win from. After the international break, people are thinking we've got another 3 easy games. And if we changed our manager and allowed the new manager to have these 3 games coming up after the international break, starting with Southampton, then I think we would probably have a good chance of winning those 3 games. But if we stick with Emery, I think we're going to struggle winning those 3 games. I genuinely do. Now, Southampton are in a desperate situation. I still, believe it or not, rate the manager, despite the terrible run that they've been on. I think there's a lot of internal unrest at Southampton. I think he desperately wanted Hasenhüttl to strengthen in the summer, and he wasn't backed. And I think that's really got him upset. He's working with not the players that he wanted, nowhere near the strong enough squad. They've been getting worse over the last 2 or 3 years, Southampton. They're not the same club as they used to be, bringing through some fantastic talent. They haven't done that for a little while. They've continuously sold their best players. So yeah, I think he really wanted to strengthen, but he wasn't backed, unfortunately. Although he has really struggled this season, I do think there's a good manager in there somewhere. But after the international break, they're going to want a reaction. He's going to want a reaction. I'm sure the players will want a reaction. And after this 2-week break, I don't know how many guys they've lost over the international break to their international teams, but they're going to be working doubly hard to put in a performance against Arsenal, and they will see that we are there to be got at. And I think we're going to be in for a really tough game. I really don't think it's going to be a walk in the park whatsoever. And I think we're going to be doing well to get 3 points out of that game. So I think it's going to be mathematically impossible for us to get top 4 by Christmas. There's absolutely no doubt about that in my mind. And the simple fact is, the only way that we are going to be able to get there is to change the manager and really push for, the whole mentality of the squad to change very quickly overnight, because we all saw what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did with United when they had the weight lifted off their shoulders when Mourinho left, and the instant change wasn't just down to Ole coming in. It was that release, it's like a pressure cooker release valve. And I honestly think that Freddie Ljungberg will get that from the players because of the respect he's got and the way that they all love him. And he would allow them to go out there and play some good football. He'll play players in the right positions. And I think the whole mentality would change literally overnight. And that's the only way we could do it, is to get a good run of games and utilise that new manager bounce that he would give us. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So I think we're staring down the barrel already that the league is over for us. And that means putting all our eggs into the Europa League basket, which at the end of the day is a knockout competition. It's all down to the luck of the draw. I don't even fancy us beating anyone in that competition either at the moment. We all saw how we struggled against one of the weakest teams in there, with Victoria the other week. So pretty much the season will be over if nothing is done. And the way that the club has handled this situation is absolutely appalling, and calling us all a noise. They tried to backtrack on that, and it looks like the manager's been given the dreaded vote of confidence, etc. But that's not something that happens a day or two before you sack the manager. That means he could be gone in the next month or so, which is, pretty much up to Christmas, and it's far too late. The season is going to be gone. And the We Care to You movement that happened in the summer, the frustration that we had at that point, that led to the letter going out, the open letter from all the the different well-known sort of Arsenal accounts, etc. And it got an immediate response, but that situation that led to that is nowhere near as important and as serious as the situation we're in at the moment. It's got 10 times worse, and the lack of action from Raul, Edu, Vinay is just staggering, and the ineptitude of not doing anything is going to absolutely wreck the club financially if we don't get into the top 4, which we've already established is not going to happen. So they should have taken action ages ago, quite a few weeks ago, probably after the Watford game, if we're completely honest with ourselves. It was openly apparent then, at that point, that we're going nowhere under this manager. And not only are we going to be completely wrecking the club financially, putting ourselves into a serious black hole, but we're also systematically, in the meantime, wrecking the players that we've got in the club. And they are the crown jewels for the club at the moment. They're the only thing that we've got to look at and think that there's some strength there. We've got a great squad. I keep saying it over and over again. We have got a great squad. And people was comparing the Leicester team versus our team in the lead up and in the aftermath of the Leicester match at the weekend, and saying how many Arsenal players will get into the Leicester team. Well, if you look back at last Christmas, before Brendan Rodgers had joined under Claude Puel, everyone would have said that there'd be no Leicester players that got into the Arsenal team, even though they're all the same. And they've lost their best centre-back in the summer, didn't replace him. And now, a short, less than a year later, a short amount of time, it's turned on its head because they got a great manager in, and a great coach, a great motivator. It's turned on its head, and everyone is saying no Arsenal players will get into the Leicester team now, apart from potentially Aubameyang, but on current form, that Jamie Vardy wouldn't get displaced by Aubameyang either. So they took action and have turned full circle I think he joined in February, so that's 9 months, and it's taken nowhere near 9 months. It's you can go back to the beginning of the season. At the end of last season, you could see how good they were becoming, winning all the games at the end of last season. So he had an instant impact, Brendan Rodgers. And we're still waiting after 18 months of Unai Emery to even figure out who to play in what position on the pitch. And the owners and those who must be obeyed in the club have done fuck all. So we need to act, and we need to voice our displeasure. We need to actually give them some noise to worry about. Give these fuckers some noise. They don't like it. Tough. They're wrecking our fucking club. So the fact that I've been calling out over the last week or so the Weekend EU movement to actually get involved, it's very, very, very important that we do, because it's far more important than when they did get involved in the summer. So the fact that we've not heard anything as yet is very weird, because we're going to end up losing all of our best players, as well as going down a deep fucking financial black hole. So please get involved, and let's get some dialogue going with this club. Let's hear from Josh Kroenke again, because he gave us all this hope in the summer, and we let everyone off the hook in the summer, thinking Don Raoul was knocking on the doors and getting everything sorted. Well, he's not doing it now, is he? And our club is going down the shitter in front of our eyes, and nothing is being done. So let's get something done urgently, because I can't bear to see this, and I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure I'm not alone in looking at this team week in, week out, and getting completely and utterly embarrassed and deflated and angry and sad, and every feeling under the sun apart from joy and happiness. It's completely the opposite, and nothing is changing, and we can't blame Unai Emery anymore. He's just in the wrong job. It's too big a job for him. He ain't got a clue what he's doing. Now, it's not his fault anymore. It's the people that are keeping him in that job, and they need to be held accountable. I'll take a short break, and I'll be back soon.
Mind the gap. Mind the gap.
Welcome back. So going back to the early episodes of From Dial Square to Where, literally pretty much to the beginning, it was episode 2 where I discussed the concerns I had about the ownership of the club and the way we were going, and etc, and I set up my initial petition, and it was episode 3, just a week after, when the Weekend EU movement started. And I edged my concerns on those shows about the We Care Do You movement. I was all for it, of course, but the biggest concern I had was that what it really required was to be followed through. And what I mean by that is not just to send that initial letter and then that's it. After we signed Pepe and everything, everyone was happy. But the most important thing I mentioned was to keep a close dialogue with the club on a regular basis and to build that relationship with the club so that you can actually have regular meetings with the club in person as well to discuss the fans' concerns and be the voice of the fans to the club. And that was the most important thing to me at the time. And obviously, as we've seen now, now we're at rock bottom virtually. Now we're having to sort of give them a nudge and to try and say, well, can you just please wake up and, you know, contact the club again. Use your contacts within the organisation to try and provoke a response and say, why are you allowing all this stuff to go on to our club? Why are you not acting over at Unai Emery? Do you not realise that it's now almost impossible for us to get top four? Because you are delaying and delaying and delaying the inevitable. Now, Unai Emery is literally drowning in the ocean, and it looks like the club and Josh are just standing on the boat and not helping him, not throwing him a life ring. So, I don't blame him anymore. Like I said, I don't blame Emery anymore because we all know he's just not, he's in well above his head, and it's down to the owners now to actually act. And it's really up for debates as to where we go from here and what we do. And I was listening to other podcasts, and I think it was a Guns and Yellow Ribbons podcast that were talking about not going into the ground, leaving the Emirates empty. And there was a hashtag, apparently, empty the Emirates. And trying to sort of get people to maybe enter the ground half an hour late and take the seats half an hour late and leave the stadium empty, which is all, that's a good idea. Have some banners up, create some chants against the board, create some chants that advise the board in no uncertain terms that we need a managerial change, need a new head coach. But I, again, am going back to a suggestion that I made in either episode 2 or 3. And I really think this is a good suggestion because it's a win-win all round, really. Rather than just not going to the stadium, not seeing football, I think it would be a really good idea if it was a concerted effort for everyone to, instead of going to the Emirates to watch the Arsenal first team, choose a match and go to, instead, the Arsenal ladies. And what I mean by a win-win is that the Emirates will be empty, but we will be going there and supporting the Arsenal team that are actually the best in their field at the moment. They are the best women's team in the land, and they're getting no crowd whatsoever. So vote with your feet by not going to see the men who are stinking the place out at the moment, but go and see the women's team. You get to watch football, you get to support the women's team, give them that backing that they fully deserve, and get to see some really good football. So I think that's a really good way of voting with your feet and getting something out of it as well, and supporting the Arsenal team that are actually winning stuff. So let me know what you think. Please share it around, see whether we can get some kind of feedback on that idea, because surely it's better than just leaving the stadium half empty for half an hour or whatever. And I'm just talking about on one occasion at the moment. If it keeps happening, nothing happens at all, then do it again. But I just think it's a great way of really getting a point across that if we want to see good, successful football and a team that is going to be able to win the league like the ladies team did last season. Now we've got some of the best women's players in the world in playing for Arsenal ladies. Miedema, Van der Donk. Let's go and give them some support on one occasion at least, and show them that we want to see successful football like they are. So give us an email from dialsquare2wear@gmail.com. Contact me on Twitter @FromDialSquare, and tell your friends, ask them what they think about that idea, because I think it could work. So I'm going to leave it there for this episode, because yesterday I had a very good live show, and I've posted that as a podcast today. And a lot of what I was going to cover on this particular episode of the podcast was covered in the show yesterday, so I've converted that into a podcast format as well, but it's also still there, available to watch, of course, on YouTube. So thanks ever so much for listening. Please go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please follow the podcast and give us a 5-star review. And tell your friends and family and all the other gooners about From Dial Square to Wear. It'd be really appreciated. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks very much for listening. We really do appreciate each and every one of you. We really need your help to spread the word about From Dial Square to Wear, so if you haven't done so already, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes and Spotify. Subscribe to the From Dial Square to Wear YouTube channel and hit the notification button so you never miss a live show. And finally, please tune in to the live shows. Don't forget, you can get the chance every week to be the star alongside Andrew and his great guests, just for being the most entertaining viewer on the night. Thanks again, and see you on the next episode. Bye!